So back to school is around the corner. Now, if you're anything like me, school has been in session since August 31st. Let's just say you are a high school freshman. Number one, congrats! You are one step closer to being an adult and possibly going into college. But let's just say you don't exactly feel comfortable in this new territory. I mean, you're just coming out of middle school, 3 years, 2 years if you had intermediate school, and you don't really know what to expect. There's all these big people are going to be adults in 1 to 2 years, just towering over you. So how do you survive? What are some tips to get through the year and many more? Well, that's where I come in. As a high school freshman,
Senior.
I can teach you the ins and outs and how I have successfully managed to survive as an honors student with a 4.0 GPA. Let's get started. Throughout this video, if you see me looking down, it's only because I have my little notepad with all my notes. So just for starters, my number one tip is not to go in it with extremely high hopes. I don't care what any of the coming of age movies tell you how exciting high school will be. You will definitely have great experience in high school, don't get me wrong. But it's not always going to be an adventure every day. You are going to be succumbed to work. It's literally the same thing as middle school, just more options in classes. And then on top of that, depending on those classes that you take, you won't be able to hang out with your friends as much. And I do say that this differs with everyone in their friend groups. But in my time, I didn't really have that many classes with my friends. But that didn't mean that we didn't make things work outside of school hours. We would sometimes hang out after school. If anything, we would make time for each other, and we still managed to have a great friendship with all my friends, if anything. Number two, I know this is said a lot, 100%, and I know that this can get annoying. But partly, and I say partly, grades are sort of important when you enter high school. Now, you may be thinking that it's your first year, you can kind of relax a bit compared to your senior year, but it's actually the complete opposite. I suggest going a little harder than you would think is necessary in your 9th grade year so you can kind of relax in your senior year. People around you in your age group will have that lax attitude, and you definitely want to stand out in the crowd if you do plan on going to college. And if you're someone who's interested in ranking, starting early will be the best option. I mean, the minute you step onto those high school marble floors is the time that you start working your ass off. You really need to start focusing on those classes that are honors based, because they do help with your GPA, unweighted and weighted, no matter what. And then after 9th grade, I know this is a little bit thinking further a little bit ahead, but if you feel as though you can handle it, then definitely take those AP classes. Those AP classes that aren't necessarily required, like AP Music Theory, AP Psychology, things like that, especially if they're geared towards your major. Now, speaking of majors, I do know that this is very early for you guys to start deciding like what you want to do in life. And if you do know what you want to do, totally fine, great, acceptable, 100%. I'm supporting you, rooting for you 100%. But if you were like me, you had no idea what you were going to turn out in life. And even now as a senior, I still don't know what I'm going to end up doing in life. But what I'm really regretting is that I didn't take those required classes, like those unnecessary required classes early on, like health, in my schedule in 9th grade. So this way I would have more time to do more classes that I would like, or at least have that free time for myself. So definitely take the time to kind of like look at your course requirements, look at those classes that aren't subjects, like your main 4 subjects like English, maths, things like that, and take the time to get those out of the way. Even if they're half year, just get them out the way now, so this way later on you have more time to kick up your legs and relax. I don't think I need to tell you this, but in case you needed that reminder, do not fuck that senior. No matter how attractive they may seem, no matter how appealing they may seem, no matter how close they may seem, please do not. You are what, 14? They are almost 18, okay? They are a grown man or woman or a non-binary person, and you do not need to be hanging around someone unless they're trying to at least be more of a guide instead of someone who's trying to guide their way down your pants. Okay? Great. I'm glad we got that out the way. But going back to the grades aspect, as much as I did say that grades are sort of everything and emphasis on sort of everything, that does not mean that that 150 or 40 is going to kill your whole high school dream of being like number one, if that's something you're trying to achieve. It's not going to affect you that much, thinking in the grand scheme of things. Like, you have hundreds of tests that you're going to take throughout the 4 years. You need to give yourself a little bit of a break, and I think I would have loved to hear that as a ninth grader, you know, especially being a ninth grader during the COVID times. Like, I was definitely slipping, and I was definitely not doing the greatest, but it all turned out well. I'm telling you, I had my fair share of 50, 40s, and definitely 20s. So, and that was with trying and cheating, and it did not work. So don't beat yourself up for it. It's not worth it. Just pick yourself up, try and figure out where it went wrong, and move on. This one is more so to get in contact with your teachers, or more so feel comfortable with your teachers. And I'm definitely not the one who came up with this idea. It was actually Study Quill who came up with this, and highly recommend her content. Please go watch. She doesn't need my shout out, but I'm just saying. Email your teachers beforehand. If you get your Google Classroom and you figure out their name or their email beforehand, just type up a little email that says, "Hi, my name is, I'll be in your class during this period, and I just wanted to say thank you in advance for having a good year with me." Something along those lines to show that you kind of stand out a little bit and you're willing to kind of make that connection with that teacher. Now, if so be the case that you are kind of a shy person, I would say that this is a great opportunity to let them know that you are on the shyer side, so they don't have that they don't have to feel that awkward tension the minute you step in. Like, they'll know automatically. So I think this is just like a good way to set you up with your teacher, and just foresight, just me with foresight today. Now, in terms of building that beautiful repertoire, because at some point in your senior or late junior year, you're gonna have to build your resume. I say start taking as many extracurriculars now as you possibly can. Look for things like that you could do community service, even if it doesn't count towards your National Honor Society as of right now, because some schools only have that during your 11th grade year, which I understand, or some people carry it on to your 8th grade, which helps nonetheless. But not only does it that you can log it and keep it for your resume, but again, other things like if your school just kind of requires it, that's just right then and there. A lot of extracurriculars sign up and try to help the community give back in a sense, so that would definitely work, trust me. And then on top of that, like for me, I overdid it in my 9th grade year. I did a good 7 extracurriculars, and I will not lie, that is definitely how much I do a year, like 7 to 8. And I just keep moving because I really don't like staying idle. And I'm not saying go to that extreme, but maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3, and make sure that they're all on a different day so you don't stress yourself out. I did not do that because I just wanted to join. I mean, it did help me, but again, don't save yourself the headache. Save yourself the headache. This one is more so because I'm very selfish. I will admit that. And that is, do not rain on the seniors parade. Now, in my school, this may be different, but in your school, but for our school, I have like a senior lounge in the lunchroom, and of course, in the name, it's for the seniors. But every time I go in, it is freshmen. Don't ruin the seniors parade. You just got here. It's been maybe 24 hours, not even, since you touched bases in the school. Do not ruin the seniors' opportunities, because when it's your turn, you really don't want the youngins coming in and taking in your space that you had to wait 3 years for. That is not fair. So don't do that to the seniors. No matter how cool, no matter how big and bad you feel, no matter if you have those senior friends, take a step back, because it will be your time soon. Dress to success. Now, I mean, you don't really have to do this. This is really optional, but me, when I look back at my old photos, I'm like, dang, I really just like that. Don't have that. Really try and dress, or develop your own sense of style a little bit. I I promise you, once you get that head start, I know every year will be a different style, but at least you can say I had that time to develop what I wanted. It finally reach a place where you feel so comfortable, but you have that trial and error period. No matter, like during your 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and then senior year will be the time everyone says sayonara, but you'll still have that fucking great ass style right there. So, dress to success, so this way you can successfully succeed in senior year by being the hottest senior. I don't know if that made sense, but if it did, great. If it didn't, move on. Don't act like you're a 9th grader, and allow me to explain this. So when I was in 9th grade, I would actively like run around, play with play with my classmates, but like in a chaotic and quirky way. And as much as it is fun to think about in retrospect, going back and like, oh, this happened, it's cute. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely cute. But from a third person point of view, was it cute or was it annoying? And you don't really want to have that like secondhand embarrassment. It's like, oh, I acted like that. It's kind of like when you read your old messages and say, oh, that's how I sounded, that's how you sounded, and that's how you looked. Have this more immature outlook. You don't want seniors looking at you and saying, wow, she's definitely a freshman, or he's definitely a freshman, or even they're definitely a freshman. You want to have like this more mature outlook. And finally, enjoy your time in high school in the best way possible. Like I said, it's not going to be an everyday thing that you are going to have the best day of your life. But the times where you can go out and maybe watch a football game, even if you really don't like football, just to hang out with your friends, or you're making the staircase for homecoming, or, you are going to the park with your friends, having that study date, going to ask out that one person just for the hell of it. Have as much fun as possible. Dress up, dress down, do anything that makes you feel comfortable, as long as it doesn't harm others or yourself. And just live it out to the fullest. You are year one. And like everyone says, as much as I hated it when I was a 9th grader, it is definitely true. Those 4 years will fly by hella fast. Yeah. Good luck. Or should I say, good luck, Charlie.